Welcome to the CabralConcept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the CabralConcept. Great to have you here today. Can't wait to get into our Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday show, where we are continuing on with the theme of Are You Deficient in? Because so many people out there right now are suffering from what we call disease in the body or of the body and brain, but they're not realizing that a lot of these deficiencies or a lot of these diseases come from actually micronutrient deficiencies. So what does that mean? Well, it means that when your body does not have enough of the raw material it needs to do its job, it starts to show symptoms that you suffer from that we then label disease. So you might have joint pain or vision issues or hair loss or thinning skin or early aging of wrinkles and sunspots on the skin, etc., right? You might have skin rashes and fatigue and weight gain and water retention. Well, we look at these things and we say, okay, well, that's rheumatoid arthritis, that's GERD, that's IBS, that's Hashimoto's, that's all sorts of different diseases. I have like 50 running through my head right now, but sarcoidosis and Graves and all these different diseases that we're given a name of. But the problem is this, is that they didn't just happen overnight. We filled up that rain barrel of toxins and stress and all these things that depletes our body of certain nutrients. And over the last couple weeks, we've been going over those. So we've talked about, are you deficient in protein and what that looks like? Are you deficient in iron? What does that look like? Last week, we talked about if you're deficient in magnesium. So hopefully you're tuning in to these past shows, and I can get you some of those numbers if you need. But today's show is, you could just go to stephencabral.com/1167. Last week's on magnesium deficiency was episode 1160. And if you're iron deficient, that was 1153. And if you're protein deficient, that was 1146. Now, all of these are easily able to be found by going to stephencabral.com/podcasts. Very, very easy. You can simply do a search. So, for example, today I'm going to go through if you are calcium deficient or not. Now, today I'm not going to go through all of the different great foods that contain calcium from a paleo-based standpoint, from a vegan-based standpoint, but I went over all of those so when I did my Friday reviews in 2018, I went step by step through basically every main micronutrient, and I just showed people this is what it's needed for. And then these are the foods and these are the supplements that you can use. It made it super easy so that you have all that information right there. So when you walk into your doctor's office and they said, oh, there's no point in taking this or this, nutritional supplement or trying to improve your diet, well, you can say, actually, there is. Or, as I always say, don't argue back. Just say, okay, not a problem. I'm going to come to you for my blood work, my annual review, make sure that nothing is acutely wrong, and then I'll work with my health coach, health practitioner, functional medicine doctor, naturopathic doctor, integrative health practitioner, etc., in order to work on my health. Because remember, most of the time, conventional medicine is there for sick care. And it's great. Again, really great that we have it. If something is absolutely like life-threatening wrong, well, it's nice to know that you have the best of the best there to help you with life-saving based conditions. But that's sick care. So for health care, you're really going to want to seek out a great nutritionist or integrative health practitioner or whatever the best suited fit for you is. That's really it. I mean, you can read a book. I just want you to be able to dive deeper. I don't like people read one article and they send in a question like, why would you do this? Or why is this? One article is not enough. I need you to go deeper in on your health. So you can read The Rain Barrel Effect, or you can read other books that are going to take you on this journey. And you're going to learn about your body from the inside out, which is what's the most important, because all of the things that we kind of feel those symptoms as they permeate through the body on the outside, and our brain recognizes it as pain or suffering, or we see the skin rash or whatever it may be. But the truth is that these things are happening. They have been happening at a much deeper level for some time. So let's take the time. Let's learn more about our body. And that's what I'm hoping to do on these past few weeks and into today's show as well. So let's go through it now. Are you calcium deficient? Well, by the end of this show, you will be able to get a much better grasp on that because, again, you should run your annual blood work, and your annual blood work will absolutely tell your calcium levels, but it will only tell you that from a homeostatic blood marker perspective. It's not going to look deeper into the body as to if you have enough calcium or not. And another thing that your doctor or PCP will probably never tell you, and again, it's not their fault. They simply haven't been taught this from an orthomolecular perspective or functional medicine perspective, is that there's a lot more that goes into your calcium levels than taking in calcium alone. It's why we know, and I try to preach all the time this, that loading up in high dosages on one certain nutrient, even something as great as calcium, is typically bad for the body. Now, there's a lot you can do in terms of nutritional supplement in the short term that's absolutely fantastic. But in the long term, you don't need to do high-dose nutritional supplements, and I would actually urge you not to do it for a long period of time on a high dosage. So what does that mean? Well, it means a moderate dosage of calcium intake, I'll talk about that in a moment of what it should always be paired with, is fine. But taking in mass doses of straight calcium is only going to lead to hardening of the arteries, especially when most brands use the cheapest form of calcium out there, and they're just using calcium carbonate. So if you look at your calcium supplement that you, and again, I was there myself, don't get me wrong, and you bought it at CVS or Rite Aid or Costco or Target or what's another big one, Sam's or BJ's, any of those places, and you bought the mega bottle, and because it was $5.99, I'm the same way, trying to save money. But the problem is you look in the back and now you see it says calcium carbonate. And all that's going to do is basically line the arteries. It's going to harden the arteries. We don't want that, right? We don't want that because, in my opinion, better not to use nutritional supplements if you're not going to use a functional medicine-based brand. There's a reason why some supplements cost more. Now, some it's just marketing. Don't get me wrong. Believe me, I'm in the industry. I see it. I know it. I look at Amazon. I said, how are these guys or girls selling this supplement, which is just deplorable, for this price? Shouldn't even be sold. Well, one, it shouldn't be sold at all, no matter even if it is $5.99 at Costco. Shouldn't be sold. But at the same time, I understand the perspective that you're not going to be spending your entire paycheck on supplements. So we need to see what works best for you. It's the good news is this: you don't need mega doses. You absolutely don't. But there's an even bigger cofactor is if that, as you start to see these symptoms, that the calcium isn't working that you're supplementing with, keep in mind that in order for calcium to work, you need the cofactors. And that's vitamin D. You need vitamin D. You also don't want vitamin D in mega doses either. So if your doctor gives you 50,000 IU or 100,000 IU or crazy studies of 250,000 IU, and then they try to blame vitamin D as like, oh, taking vitamin D is dangerous. Well, taking vitamin D is dangerous at 250,000 IU at a time, of course. We're telling most people to take somewhere between 2,000 and 5,000 IU, not 250,000 IU. Of course, things are going to go wrong. I mean, of course. Try drinking a gallon of water. Don't try doing that. Let me take that back. Do not drink a gallon of water in just one sitting. If you do that, you could end up literally dead. We don't want that. Water, we need that, right? I think we can all assume we need water to stay alive. No doubt about it. But you don't want to drink a gallon of water at a sitting or even 3 gallons in a day. You could die from that. So that's why, again, a lot of these studies you have to take with a grain of salt. What form of calcium are they using? And really, what dosage are they talking about? Because the truth is that not all studies are created equal. And some of them are some of them are insane, and some are just looking to prove a point. So let's get back on topic. You need vitamin D, you need magnesium, you need vitamin K. Those are all cofactors. How do we build up those bones strong? We'll be talking about that in a moment. You also have to be careful that you're not super high stressed. If you were to do an adrenal hormone test and see super high levels of cortisol or stress, or you would do a hair tissue mineral analysis and you were to see a high calcium magnesium or high calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, you'd see a person that's very stressed, going to deplete the body of calcium. And it's going to go into the arteries. We don't want that, okay? A high sodium diet will deplete the body of a lot of calcium. If you're on proton pump inhibitors or acid blockers, that will not let you break down or absorb the calcium in all that great whole food that you're eating. If you have kidney-based issues, if you're eating a lot of processed food that's high in phosphorus, if we see high phosphoric acid on your organic acids test, that's going to deplete your body of calcium. If you have anything wrong with the parathyroid or you've had your parathyroid-based surgery, can be an issue. If you had gastric bypass surgery, that can deplete your body of calcium. The reason is, same as absorption being on an acid blocker, you're simply not going to be able to break it down, process it, and absorb it. If you are on certain medications, such as epileptic seizure-based medications, or if you're going through chemotherapy, that can deplete the body of calcium. So keep in mind, there are other reasons. There's always layers to this onion that we have to peel back. And you have to ask yourself, why is it that you might have some of those symptoms that we're getting into right now? Now, maybe you're just not getting a lot of calcium in your diet. That's possible. But what if vitamin D, magnesium, vitamin K, what if those cofactors are low? What if you have weak digestion, weak stomach acid? You can't break these things down. All of that matters. We need to look at all of it from a holistic-based perspective. That's why this is true health care. We're caring for the entire and whole person. Whereas sick care, you come in and you say, oh, low calcium, osteoporosis. Let's give this person a lot of calcium. Well, they did that 30 years ago. Makes sense, right? I mean, I can see where they're coming from. Makes sense. Low calcium, osteoporosis, bones have calcium, person needs calcium. Give them high-dose calcium. What happens? Well, hardening of the arteries a decade later. That's a problem. That's a problem. You don't do single nutrient nutritional supplements like you would a pharmaceutical. Nutritional supplements are not pharmaceutical drugs. They work on bringing up deficiencies. They work as cofactors. That's why we never give anyone calcium without its partner, magnesium. Because as calcium starts to come into the bloodstream, magnesium will help it find its end destination and being used in the bones. It will help keep it from constricting your arteries. Magnesium is its antagonist. It's its partner. It's a synergist and antagonist. Just like potassium is sodium's antagonist, but also its synergist. It's what lets things in and out of the cells through osmosis. Majority of potassium in the cell, majority of sodium extracellular, outside of the cell, right? Intracellular, extracellular. Well, there's arrhythmias in the heart, could be an imbalance with magnesium and calcium, could be an imbalance potentially with sodium, potassium. So we know that they're partners. We give them together. That's why they work well, right? So that's why we have to keep that in mind. All right, let's get into the symptoms now. Okay, first symptom is this. Let's just get this one out of the way because most people think low calcium, okay, you have osteoporosis. I get it, understood, and agree. But remember, there's more to it than that because it could be a diet high in processed foods. It could be a person went through chemotherapy, going through chemotherapy. Could be they're on acid blockers. Could be not enough cofactors, right? Such as magnesium. Could be a lot of stress, high levels of cortisol. That will do it. So let's look at a few more things though. What goes along with the bones? A lot of people don't think of this, but hair, skin, and nails always goes along with the bones of the body. Hair, skin, nails. It's why a product like our Equilibrium Nutrition Advanced Collagen Support works so well. Hair, skin, nails. It works with everything. You take that with calcium, magnesium. Now you're building in all of those cofactors. But a thinning of the teeth, and I'll go through this a little bit more. I think I've touched on this on a previous show, but tooth decay or even like the teeth become a little translucent. When they become somewhat translucent, almost like you can see through them a little bit, typically weakened calcium. Now remember, if it's affecting your teeth, then it's affecting your bones in your body. Your teeth are not going to stay separate from the bones in your body. If you're taking in even a lot of phosphoric acid from like soft drinks, cola, etc., sure, it'll affect your teeth, but it will also affect the bones in the body as well. That's why look to the tongue, look to the face, look to the skin to tell you what is going on deep inside of the body as well. Super important. All right. What about brittle nails or brittle hair? Could be weak in calcium. Not the only thing, but for sure could be low in calcium, could be calcium deficient. Again, not to the point that your bones are breaking down, but a functional deficiency. A functional deficiency is enough to cause things such as weak nails, weak teeth, brittle hair. It can also lead to muscle-based weakness or spasms in the muscles or poor muscle-based contraction. And the reason is calcium is going to help with anything contracting. It's how it works. It's one of the contractors, right? So you need magnesium and you need calcium. They work with the body. All the electrolytes do. Calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium. We need all of them. But a lot of people, they start to get cramps, a lot of times down near the calves. It could be a deficiency in calcium. I always go with calcium, magnesium first. Most people, at least healthy people, are getting typically enough sodium, potassium through a natural diet. We never supplement typically with those. Almost never. Almost never, because we're doing so much greens. Like, people might be doing our daily fruit and vegetable blend, eating a lot of greens, putting greens in the smoothie, eating veggies at lunch. Like, they're getting it in there, which is great. We want them to do that. So there's no need to supplement. Like, we don't have to give straight potassium. We never do that. Sea salt, but that is one we'll recommend for a lot of people. A lot of people with fatigue, weakness, low blood pressure, will do some Himalayan sea salt or some Celtic sea salt or some Redmond's real salt or some Ayurvedic rock salt. We'll do any one of those to build up the trace minerals, because it's not just sodium chloride in sea salt, it's all of the other trace minerals. There are over 70 of them contained in sea salt versus just NaCl, sodium chloride, in table salt. And of course, with table salt, they also add in all of the bleached-based alternatives and sometimes aluminum to help with caking. Now, of course, you don't want aluminum in your sea salt, but it is there typically in restaurant-based salt. We don't want that. Okay, so we know that calcium plays a big role in muscles, bones, and everything that makes up the body itself, right? The tissue itself. Very, very important. A couple that you may not have thought about, though, before would be skin rashes and dry skin. We do need calcium as part of natural immune-based response and anything to do with the skin itself. So we talked about wrinkling. Yes, that's rebuilding, but also skin rashes, psoriasis, very important as well. Dry skin. Again, dry skin can be essential fatty acids. It can be multiple things, but calcium is one of those as well. Itching is another one. Again, itching can have to do with lower B vitamins. It can have to do with all sorts of different deficiencies, but calcium is up there as well. So I want to put that on that list. Another, to do with vision. So we work with a lot of people on anti-aging as well. So yes, we'll go with the typical antioxidant that we speak about for anti-aging, such as zeaxanthin, such as lutein, and you get all of your other vitamins and minerals, vitamin A, et cetera, in there. But calcium is a big one. Now, of course, you never want to do calcium without the magnesium, because it could even lead to, again, too high stress in the body. Get a lot of people with floaters in the eyes, right? Well, most people were able to help with those eye floaters, so pass this tip on to friends with a product called Full Spectrum Magnesium, or magnesium supplementation to relax the body. Adrenal Soothe helps tremendously as well. Relax the stress response. Now, of course, work on lifestyle as well, but as you're working on your meditation, your hatha yoga, your breathing, your extra sleep, all of those things, you can work by giving yourself a little bit extra help with the B vitamins, the Adrenal Soothe, and magnesium. Okay. Next up is, this has to do more with the actual smooth muscle contraction of the larynx and the voice. So sometimes people actually get a different tone in their voice, or they'll get numbness around the mouth or the larynx, and they'll actually get a little spasming there. And that can happen as well. So it's an interesting one. We very rarely ever see it come up, but something that you should be aware of. An additional one, along with fatigue, so body fatigue, can come irritability or a little bit of kind of lower mood, anxiety, feeling not yourself. That's the best way to describe it. And that can come from low electrolytes in general, but for sure, a decrease in calcium levels. The last one, and the main one I want to talk about, because we talked about the heart and how it has to do with the calcium magnesium and arrhythmias, but fainting. Fainting is a big one. So it doesn't have to get to the point where you faint, because it could also just be lightheadedness upon standing. Yes, it has to do with blood pressure, but remember, blood pressure is also has a big to do around stress and cortisol and aldosterone production, but it has to do with calcium, magnesium, and enough sodium, potassium in the body. So yes, I'm talking about calcium today, but a lot of these things we can kind of push back onto all of the electrolytes, which is why, again, I'm not a big advocate of doing single dose of anything, single high dose of anything. You'll almost never see any of our nutritional supplements as one nutrient only. Almost never would we do that, because everything works so well with its partners and cofactors. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is just let you know typical dosages. So the average person out there is going to want to shoot for at least 420, that's the minimum for adults a day of calcium. Most people we're working with are supplementing with somewhere around, let's say, 250 milligrams to 500 milligrams a day. And then they're aiming for double that in their food. So if you're someone that uses an app to track your food and your micronutrient intake, you want to shoot for 1,000 milligrams a day. So at least 1,000 milligrams a day for men and women, adults. You'd aim for half that for children, not in supplementation, but half that for children. And then if you are pregnant or nursing, you're going to want to shoot for 1,000 milligrams to 1,200 milligrams a day minimum as well. Now, again, we typically never supplement with more than 400 a day to maybe 500 milligrams a day of calcium, but it's always with magnesium. So, the information I give you to be able to take action on. And you never need to use any of the Equilibrium nutrition products. You never do. You can use any brand that's a functional medicine brand that you feel comfortable with, that you trust. And that's great because that's what it's all about, is understanding why you should do it and then, of course, what you should look for. So what I'll do is I will link up our CalMag Complete, is what it's called, CalMag Complete. You can look at the label and then you can compare it to the one you're using right now. See if it's the right fit for you, and then you can see if that's the right product, because how we formulate is we formulate with the best products out there. The ones that are easily absorbable, that don't end up in the bloodstream, but actually end up in the muscles, and they end up in the tissue, and they end up in the bones where you want them, right? That's what's important. Now, in terms of food, keep in mind, I give a whole breakdown on episode 1057. So if you want all the foods and you want the nitty gritty on calcium, where to get it from, just head on back to StephenCabral.com/1057. That episode is what we really did to kick off last year to get you into all of the different benefits of all these different micronutrients, which again would be your vitamins and minerals, and calcium being a mineral. So a lot of people are getting their calcium from dark leafy greens. Easy way to do it. Vegan sources are going to be the leafy greens, the beans, almonds, sprouted organic tofu a couple times a week. Some people will do well with that. Some people won't. Tahini, some people are doing. And then, of course, there are some seafood products that work, some don't. And then there are dairy-based products or, of course, non-dairy-based products. With the CabralConcept, we can't recommend most cow milk-based varieties, but certainly if you are into getting dairy and you don't want a vegan-based alternative, there are some goat-based or some sheep-based that will be better alternatives that will be easier in the digestive system and less taxing on the immune system from an IgG perspective. And if you don't know, and I've talked about this before, if you've ever run your food sensitivity test from an IgG perspective, you'll see that the number one food sensitivity, hands down, not even a close second, is cow's milk-based dairy. Not from a bloating-based perspective. Yes, some people get that, but we're talking from a protein. We're actually talking from an inflammatory-based perspective. If you've never run your food sensitivity and you don't believe it, again, the facts are in the data. I just recommend running the data. So you can run a food sensitivity test if you want. It's a great thing to look at food sensitivities to know which factors or varieties of foods you want to get. Again, all of these labs are just at equilibriumnutrition.com or with your local integrative health practitioner or functional medicine doctor. So I talked about the CalMag Complete, straight magnesium that we use all the time in the practice because, again, a lot of people are already getting their calcium. We use full spectrum magnesium, which works great, is non-drowsy during the day. You could certainly use a magnesium citrate before bed if you wanted to. What else can I give you for tips for today? But for the most part, again, everybody should be using something like our daily nutritional support or a daily activated multi so that you get everything. You get the vitamin D, but again, you need a little bit more vitamin D, but you get the K, you get the D, you get magnesium, you get calcium, you get potassium in there, you're going to get your B vitamins, you're going to get all of the other nutrients so that your body says, oh, we just don't have a overloading in one area. We have a little bit of all of these things, and then we take them with food, then the body uptakes even more. Again, it doesn't have to be directly with food, but during the day, of course, you're eating, and your body's going to be able to know how to use these to the greatest potential. Besides that, you're using functional medicine-based formulas, which is not using the cheap forms such as calcium carbonate that don't allow you to absorb it in the first place. Again, not everything's created equal. Hopefully, we're teaching that each and every CabralConcept. So those are the deficiencies. Check those out. If you kind of checked a lot of those boxes, well, for sure, you're going to want to look deeper into your health. You could run a hair tissue mineral analysis. You could run an adrenal hormone or thyroid adrenal hormone to see how stressed that body is. Or you could start to just get into some good, healthy, whole food. Remember, it always starts with whole food, and then you give yourself just kind of that safety net of giving yourself a little bit of the nutritional supplements on a daily basis just to make sure that all of your needs are met. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Cabral Concept. And as always, if it was beneficial, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Thank you so much for just tuning into the show. I appreciate you. I appreciate your downloads, your shares, your reviews, all of those things. And because you are such a valued listener, I do want to share with you our Equilibrium Nutrition specials when they do go on. And for the next couple of days, we are giving away one of our favorite products out there, and that is the gluten and dairy support. This is a specific enzyme that allows you to better break down gluten, dairy, beans, fructans, legumes, any of the items that you might get a little bit of a bloated belly from or some GI distress after eating them. But it's absolutely fantastic at taking with a cheat meal, a flex meal, whatever you would like to call it. And you're not saying that, hey, this food is the best for me, but what you're saying is every once in a while, I'm going to enjoy my favorite foods. And so I'll just take 2 or 3 of these gluten and dairy support enzymes, and that will help me to break down this meal. So clinically proven to work, absolutely fantastic, works with both children and adults, and it allows you to eat some of those favorite foods that might not be there on a typical daily basis, although it works phenomenally well with beans and fructans. So here's the thing though, we are giving that away absolutely free as part of the launch of our new daily probiotic support. I want to talk more about this on the Friday review, but I added some big benefits to the formulation. So here's the thing. If I ever create or I tweak a formulation, it's because there's more I want to add. There's more I want to give to that product. And for this product, I wanted to be able to source the exact strain of what's called Lactobacillus reuteri. And L. reuteri for short is one of the best probiotics that almost no one's heard of. It's also one of the most expensive probiotics, and that's the reason why most companies do not put it in their formulas. Well, we did not raise the price, but we added in L. reuteri, and we added in at a quite high dosage. This allows you all of the benefits of L. reuteri that you would not get otherwise. So it works as a powerful anti-inflammatory. It helps with rebuilding the that's skin and hair combined to scare. It works on lowering overall stress and pain receptors in the body. It helps to improve the absorption of vitamin D by about 25%. It works with IBS and gut-based symptoms. It helps for those susceptible to candida or inflammation, Crohn's, colitis in the gut. It helps with the absorption of other B vitamins such as folate or B12, so it makes those vitamins work better. It also works with your autoimmune-based issues such as Hashimoto's. It helps with reducing cholesterol by a factor of anywhere between 9 and 11% just on cholesterol alone, just by taking L. reuteri. And it helps with wound healing, it helps with inflammation overall in the body, and has been shown to work on H. pylori as well as strep bacteria. So pretty phenomenal product. It's one that I've wanted to really get into our probiotic formula for quite some time. I'm happy to say after literally 16 weeks of sourcing, it's now there, it's now available, and it's at the same exact price. So while supplies last, or actually this one we're going to have in stock, so that this is not going to hold true for that. But for the next couple of days, while this offer is available, we are offering the buy 2 of the new daily probiotic formula and get the gluten and dairy support absolutely free. $39.95 value. Hope you enjoy it. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing rest of the day.